Thank you.
All right, so we're good to go. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, October the 15th, 2024, the Easton Board of Health meeting. President Paul Mann, Taryn Butler.
Present.
Chris Mills, the chair, is absent, no call today. And so we'll have to move on without him. Let's see, the first thing is we have a variance.
285 Washington Street, PNP Associates.
Okay, I'd like to do a quick introduction. We're happy to, my name is Robert Nacer, one of the owners of the property, 285 Washington Street. The other owner, Don Brabants, who lives in Easton. He couldn't be here, he's with his grandkids in Florida, so he's taking some time off. But I'm happy to proceed however the board would like to do. I have my suggestion was I was going to do a quick overview of how we got here today and then ask the members of our team, Pat Carrera from PMP Consulting Engineers and Bob Silva from Septic Preservation Services. Pat can talk about some of the our requests and some of the technical details, and then just open it up for questions if that sounds fine with you.
Sure.
Okay, so just to get back of how did we get here today? So, you know, Dawn and I have owned the property there, or my family. My dad was the owner with Dawn, and he passed away. We've owned the property for over 30 years there, and I guess we've always taken pride in that, keeping it well managed and well maintained. As part of our maintenance program, we always have the septic system pumped, and during a regular maintenance earlier this year, Mike Bossy, a local contractor, came out, pumped the septic tanks, inspects the septic tanks, and inspected the pump chambers, and inspected the leaching galleys in the leaching field. And he came to us, to Dawn and I, and he said, you know, those leaching galleys are higher than they normally are. So this was obviously a concern for us. We started doing a little bit of investigation, and what we learned is that one of the toilets in one of the units had been running, and it was actually putting in over twice the volume of liquid into the treatment, the septic system than normal. So we did, of course, we rectified it, and we resolved the problem. But I guess it was a wake-up call for Dawn and I. Were like, you know what? We need to think about this, a way to proactively extend the life of our septic system if we can. How can we do that? So we asked Mike Bossy. He put us in touch with Pat, and we talked to Pat, put us in touch with Bob, we talked to Bob, and then what we did is we ended up forming a team, working together, everybody, and that's what we've done. We've formulated a plan that we think is the best plan going forward, and that's what we're here presenting to you folks today. And really that's the summary of how we got here. And I guess I'm going to ask Pat to go through some of the details and what our specific requests are, and then, you know, after that you can just ask questions of whatever.
Yeah, I just have one question now.
Sure.
Have you seen what he has already?
Yes, and the request tonight was for a variance to a setback. That was what the letter requested. So that's what we're voting on, they'd be voting on tonight. So.
Okay, so just to address that, part of the work that we're doing out there involves installing a new pump chamber for the site. The whole site, everything gravity flows to what is currently basically a manhole structure. It's undersized for the entire site. So the pumps are constantly turning on, off, and running. So we've designed a new 5,000 gallon pump chamber.
This is the chamber where the lot line is.
Perfect, thanks, Mark. Designed a new pump chamber. So we've got, because of the existing water service and some other utilities there, it squeezes over to that common lot line with the bank property. Title 5 setback is 10 feet, we're at 8 feet. So we've asked for a 2-foot reduction in the 10-foot setback. We did notify the owners of the bank. We sent them certified mailing.
We got the green card.
Yep,
Yeah.
Mark got the green card. The plan is stamped by a registered land surveyor to show that we've done the real survey work out there.
Did you notify all abutters or just the one?
Just the one that's affected by the property line setback, it's all required to under Title V.
Was there any, did the bank get back to anybody? Was there any?
They have evidence that they received it.
They received it,
Yeah.
but we
They
haven't.
got back, they signed it.
They signed
They signed
it.
it.
Okay.
They got a letter.
Yep. So also because of we have to connect to the existing piping from the existing septic tank, it lowered one of our, it lowered our inverts, we're within 12 inches of the water table. So we've asked for a reduction in that as well from 12 inches to 6 inches for the separation of the pipe inverts. The 5,000 gallon tank, we're calling out to have cast in place rubber boots with the stainless steel clamps to ensure that the connections are watertight. Well, that's related to the two local upgrades or variances that we're requesting tonight.
Okay, thank you. Having looked at both, looking at this, what if any concerns do you have?
I don't have any concerns about the tank location and the setbacks to the.
Reducing it 2
Yeah,
feet?
No.
There's no concerns.
No.
And I'm sorry, you said that you were reducing from 12 inches to 6?
It's just-
Yeah, just because of the elevation of the pipe coming out of the last septic tank in front of the Dunkin' Donuts and the drive-through. We
If you
have to
stick
go
with the
by
12,
ground.
you won't be able to get,
You won't have pitch getting.
That's-
into the
that's
pitch
what-
tank.
yeah.
Yep,
okay.
so that's all that we had requested that for.
Is 6 excessive, from 12 to 6, 50% reduction? I mean, is there an alternative to that, or does it have, does that what's gonna require, 6
It's-
inches to get the pitch?
Yeah, because that's what the math shows from
Okay,
here to there.
okay.
Yeah, we actually reduced the pitch in that pipe to 1% to try to maximize that separation.
And so the abutters were notified, you had mentioned there are more than one, like,
Yeah. I don't know. Just look, that's the abutter that
Okay.
they speak of, which is.
so there's nothing back here, so this whole section,
back.
This is really,
they've been
yeah,
notified,
this would
and
be,
they haven't,
this 138, yeah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's 138.
so there's no issues.
The parking lot in the bank.
And then this is and it wraps around itself.
Yeah, it wraps around itself, so this is all their property.
Okay,
And this would be an abutter 2, which,
that's, yeah,
yeah, that's line.
Line water.
Yeah.
okay. I don't have an issue with it.
Do you have any concerns, questions?
Not on the 2 variances, no.
No.
No, we're still working on some of the details of the design, but, no problem with the variances.
Okay. We need a motion. I'll make a motion to approve the variances as requested and presented tonight.
Motion seconded,
All those in favor, being yes?
Butler, yes.
You're all set, gentlemen.
Thank you very much, I appreciate it.
He didn't even get a chance to speak.
I know, I'm disappointed.
I'm the bashful one.
Means everybody gets to go home a little bit early, that's right.
It's a lose day.
Thank you.
Take care.
I know, thank you.
All right, I believe we have this, a citizen petition to go through.
Yeah, so Mr. Rosen, you can come up and take a seat if you'd like. I think I shared this with the board via email. Tonight you have before you a request from a resident who'd like to see you promulgate a regulation that would ban roosters. Under Mass General Law, Chapter 111, Section 122, boards have the authority to examine nuisances, sources of filth, causes of sickness which may be injurious to the public health, destroy, remove, and prevent such nuisances, and make regulations for the public health and safety. So public nuisances are generally defined as unreasonable interferences with the health and safety, peace, and comfort of members of the society. I'm going to go back to that, members with an S. These types of complaints and conditions require the Board of Health to investigate a situation involving noise, odor, dust, exhaust, waste, pests, standing water, and any other condition that may be a source of filth or may lead to sickness. I've always been instructed that a nuisance is something, by definition, that affects more than one person and occurs over time, not just one instance. So the process for declaring a nuisance is usually initiated by a complaint. Many complaints can be addressed using existing regulations. Somebody might say that it's a nuisance that sewage is running down the driveway out into the road and freezing and causing an issue. We can cover that with a different reg. We don't need anything extra from the Board of Health. It is definitely easily defined as a nuisance, but we can take care of it with existing regulations. In the event no such regulation exists, the Board of Health has the ability to go ahead and promulgate a regulation to address the situation. We have not received many complaints on this topic. We had a complaint earlier this month, coincidentally, of a rooster in the mobile home park. Mark has been out, he's tried to find the rooster, he has tried to connect with the complainant, but we haven't been able to document the presence of the rooster. When I search through our complaint log, we keep an annual log, we log all complaints and then write them up. I found one complaint that was logged in 2017 that mentioned a rooster and feces odor. That's where the board has always directed its interest in animals. The board does have a regulation that relates to the storage and disposal of manure because there's an obvious public health concern there, and historically there was no other way to address it. We do take and respond to anonymous complaints, so anybody can call and let us know what's going on as a complaint, and we are then obligated to go out and follow up on it. We would use any complaint relating to the keeping of animals also as an opportunity to further educate on that whole manure topic. We occasionally do get calls asking about the ability to have roosters, which we address by providing information that we don't have a regulation and that we approach it from the waste standpoint. There are communities that do have regulations banning roosters. There are communities that regulate or permit roosters through a registration process and kind of set standards for that there's got to be, some of them rely on the size of the lot, how they're kept, all these things. There are items such as crow collars that can be used to limit, and my understanding is it limits the ability of the rooster to fully extend and therefore diminishes the ability to vocalize at a louder volume. There is a lot of information to review. I also provided you guys with a list and some sample regulations. I've also learned from talking to a few people that oftentimes the presence of a rooster is not necessarily the result of an intentional purchase, that people purchase chicks and the gender cannot be determined with 100% accuracy until they're much larger. So people end up then having a rooster, not knowing what to do with the rooster. Oftentimes their children have named the rooster, so they're not sure what to do with it. So that's my background information on nuisances, what we would typically be looking for, what we have as a level of complaints to date. And then I would, you have a petitioner in front of you if you'd like to give John the opportunity to tell you what's going on in his neck of the woods.
Please do.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, thank you. First, I want to thank the board for taking up this issue. This is probably way outside your normal purview, so
It's a little extraordinary, but
so I appreciate it. I don't have a lot to say except to just introduce a video that I brought with me.
Mhm.
The purpose of which is to give you a sense of what it's like to live within 200 feet of a rooster, since that's outside the experience of most people. It's difficult to imagine, believe me. The video was recorded by a video surveillance system that I have surrounding my house. And this system also has the ability to record audio simultaneously with the video. And so one day this past summer, I enabled the audio recording on one of my cameras. And I cooked up a microphone, I put it in an upstairs bedroom, I opened the window, and I let it run for a whole day. And then I exported the video to the audio video to a file, and so that we don't have to sit here for 14 hours, I went through the file and I eliminated all the gaps between the crowing. So what you'll see is a very time-compressed version of what happened that day.
I appreciate that.
Okay.
More than you know.
Just a note about the video itself. The cameras in this system switch to infrared at night, which produces a black and white picture. And after there's enough visible light, then they switch into color, and that's what you'll see on the video. And I also have to say that when I exported it, I used a fairly low quality setting on the video, since that's not really important. It's not very interesting. What is interesting is in the upper left-hand corner, which is partially obscured right now, but when we started, it will get out of the way. That's the date and time of the recording, okay? And I'd like you to notice that you can just barely see it. This video starts at 3 minutes after 4 o'clock in the morning, okay? I want to make sure you understand that. At this point, there's not even enough light for a good infrared picture. So that said, go ahead and start it.
Volume
Oh, it's on. It is muted.
How is it muted?
It's on the bottom.
Bottom right, yeah.
Let me turn that back on.
How long does this go? How long does this playing for?
It's like 15 minutes or so.
Okay, we get it.
Yeah, I mean,
Spent for an hour.
Yeah.
We're up to 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
How much time is left on the video? Yeah. Do we need to listen to the whole thing?
I think you do. I really think you do.
unless the rooster is offering a different narrative, I think we got
we got it.
Okay.
Well, but you don't, just watching this far into it, you don't get a sense of the extent of
But that
this.
it's an all-day occurrence and it's constant.
It doesn't non-stop, but
Yeah.
it's episodic and it
Yeah.
occurs throughout the entire
Yeah, it's not
day.
just a morning, it's not just an evening, it's throughout the day.
It goes all the way into the evening.
Okay.
And I mean, I'll give you the statistic right now. On this recording, there are 412 crows.
Yeah, so it's significant.
Yeah.
A question for you is, so before bringing this to the Board of Health for kind of intervention, what steps have been taken between you and the owners of the rooster to resolve this matter?
None at all.
Okay, so then that's something that we need to take into consideration, because there are many more steps to be taken prior to coming to the Board of Health to resolve this. Contacting, doing mediation. Are the neighbors who own this rooster aware that you have an issue with their rooster?
No, and I don't want them to know that.
Okay. Well, this is a
Because
public meeting.
I have experience.
Yeah.
You want to know why I have
Yeah.
a surveillance system around my house? It's because when people who abuse their neighbors are forced to stop doing it,
Yeah.
they get very mad.
Yeah.
And I start getting property vandalism
Okay.
in retaliation. My ideal outcome it would be to remain anonymous.
This is a public meeting.
Well, right. I mean, they
You know?
obviously could do the work
Yeah.
and look it up, but I don't want people volunteering that.
Right.
And plus the fact that sitting down with them is not going to do any good. People like this don't listen to polite requests. I know that also from experience.
I'm not sure about the anonymity that you're seeking right now. This
Yeah.
is
When you bring it to this
arguably
level,
one of the
it doesn't
largest
become
watch shows in town.
anonymous. Yeah.
Yeah, well, when you start having trash dumped on your property
Yeah.
and your mailbox smashed and
Do you have a history of issues with concerns and issues with your neighbors in the past?
yes.
Have they been documented with the Easton PD?
Yes.
So we could
extensively.
access that information.
Yes. You
Okay,
could.
great.
Yes.
The other thing is, as I read my statement, I just want to repeat that we do accept anonymous complaints.
Yeah.
As well we should.
I don't have a complaint.
As well we should. Have you been in touch with animal control?
No, because there hasn't been a prohibition on this,
Right.
so I have nothing to complain to them about.
Well, arguably, we have one of the best police departments in the South Shore of Massachusetts, I will say that. If you're having a neighbor dispute, see if maybe somebody over there could have an intervention on your behalf. Some people don't like to knock on their neighbors' doors.
I've been down that route.
Yeah, okay, and I'm just trying to help you with solutions.
Total waste of time.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you straight up, and I'm only one member of a 3-member board.
Yeah.
I'm not in favor of regulations such as this, and let me explain to you why. There's probably a heck of a lot more barking dog complaints yearly. Well, hold on.
Dogs don't bark this often.
Oh, well, that's not true. So we have cases of, and I'm very well aware because I used to deal with them, that they would bark all night because somebody left them outside, or they would do this or do that. And then what would the argument be? That the board banned dogs?
Yeah.
I'm not prepared to do that. I'm not. I think Taryn's correct. I think if you came in here and said maybe that you exhausted all means, it might mean something different. I'm not even in favor of the crow collars. I think that's cruel to do to any animal. I'm not in favor of that either. I'm sympathetic to your cause, don't get me wrong. I'm not a chicken person, never had them. Don't have roosters, nor do I want them. But there are some on my street, and I do hear them. I absolutely do hear them. They're becoming very popular all over Massachusetts. Everybody's got them, you know.
Well, not in all the towns that prohibit them.
Yeah.
I think when you ask, if you are coming to a board saying that you want us to exhaust our resources, our time to solve this issue, when you haven't done that yourself, it's a difficult ask for the board. So to start off with a neighbor dispute is what we're talking about. Is rooster crowing a nuisance? Yes, it's a noise problem for sure. But at the basic level of asking if there can something be done before it gets to this point, I think some more work needs to be done on that end.
What about being woken up and not being able to sleep past 4
I
a.m.?
agree that is a nuisance and an issue, but
for
whether
a senior citizen such as myself.
for anybody, yes,
Honestly, if you wanted to call and anonymously complain,
that would be the
we can
first
go out
step.
and investigate. We can go to the location where the rooster is, and we can try to intervene on the subject from that level. We don't have a regulation saying you absolutely
Right,
must
but
get
then-
rid of it.
That would be a good start.
Mitigation of the problem would be left up to the owner.
The owner, you know, who I
But
like
if,
to give people
if
the
he was
benefit of
never
the doubt.
given the chance,
They've
how
never
do we
given
know
the-
that that
yeah.
wouldn't be successful?
They haven't given the chance to know that it's an issue. They can't magically
Let me tell
know.
you something about the enclosure that these chickens are in. I
And
went
the-
over and looked at it.
And that's a different story. If they don't meet guidelines, that's something else.
Well, you mentioned
Completely.
something about being within a certain distance
It
from
has
the
to be
property
100
line.
feet from your
It
property.
certainly doesn't meet
50,
that.
okay.
It certainly doesn't meet that.
Then that's a simple
Then that's-
fix.
When I
simple
saw
fix.
this enclosure, I actually felt sorry for the chickens. It is the most dilapidated, rundown, filthy place you have ever seen. And these people, they have a very, very deep lot. It goes way, way back. And this thing is as far away from the house as they could put it. And the side of the enclosure that faces their house is a solid wall.
Okay.
It's open on all the other sides. In other words, they're protecting themselves from the noise and they're broadcasting it out to everybody else. That's the kind of people we're dealing with.
Yeah.
So with an anonymous complaint, we could go out and look at, because we do have regulations that address the manure and that type of storage. We also are partners with the animal control officers. I've been on a property with the animal control officer where she has brought out the state because the animals were not being kept in a proper way, where animals were removed because they were not being kept in a safe manner. That so we could go down all of those roads.
Yeah, but what's to prevent them
Additionally-
from just simply cleaning up the place and giving them a...
Additionally, if the coop is in fact too close to the property line,
It is.
the the building inspector is the zoning enforcement officer, and on our website, there is a complaint form that can be filled out and filed with him that he can then go out and do an investigation and take action if it doesn't meet the zoning regulations. So there are a few things already in place that might help us get this situation taken care of without having to go the full route of doing a regulation that all out bans.
Well, you're free to waste your time, but I really do think that a regulation that comes down hard and says no is the only thing that's going to stop this. I don't know that the business about it being close to the property line. I mean, I didn't know anything about that until you just mentioned.
And that's
it.
why you come to us. We want to help you. You know, we want to help resolve issues in a way that we can move forward and get things done within the regulations that we have. So we have regulations about how far they can be from the property line, so they can be easily enforced. And it's a lot easier to start at that level to move forward than to kind of jump 6 steps, try and go straight into the all-out banner.
Then what happens if you try this and?
Let's see. Let's try. So it's
Right, but I'm saying, what if it doesn't do anything?
then we can take it up again, and then maybe it's more convincing evidence for the board that the ban needs to happen. I think if we were out of a vote today, right now, it would be a no, and then you would leave here without any kind of resolve at all.
Right, we don't even have a sample regulation. You'd have to have a couple of public hearings that were
This would
well
take more,
publicized
and it'd be
invite
publicized, and then
public comment.
would have to hear for and against, which is fine. It's the right of the people of the town to do so. But I think that you have a lot of tools in your arsenal in the town itself that we can prevent even having to get to that point. Because if the coop doesn't meet the regulations, then it's done. The Board of Health and the Animal Control can take care of it. And if we're not even meeting the simple requirements, we don't have to go kind of further.
I think more than anything, the people don't even know the complaint is here.
Correct.
They even haven't had well, I'm sorry, but they haven't even been given a chance to address it.
Yeah.
And you want us to regulate the entire town?
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna do that.
I won't either.
I apologize if that doesn't satisfy you, but I don't think there's gonna be any motion coming from the board tonight to move this further on.
Okay.
I apologize, but that's,
But I would encourage you to use the tools that we have and the things in place in town that we can log a formal complaint. You have Kristen right here right now today. Log a complaint so that we can deal with the things to make it, hopefully to improve it. Maybe it could be an easy fix, you never know. And I know that you haven't had a good track record in the past, but you like to give people a chance. If it was me and my neighbors had an issue with something, I would love to know about it so we could work on it together and mediate and to prevent getting to a full kind of all-out ban, which would take a long time to get done. Hopefully this could maybe make this better for you in a quicker way.
Yeah, so you think the towns, I mean, I went to the website of the Northeast Organic Farming Association, they have a spreadsheet there where they list 82 Massachusetts towns and on poultry regulations.
And I've looked at them too. And
You looked at the column for roosters?
There's a yes/no on the column.
Yeah, 47 of 82.
Yes,
Say
and so
no.
it exists. It's a thing. Half the towns agree, half don't. But what we're telling you, to get to that point are so many more steps that we kind of have to just start proving from step 1 that we've even tried these other issues first before we get to step 20.
I've heard all of this before.
But not from us. You haven't been in front of us before.
Well, not you guys.
Maybe give us a chance.
The police department, the fire department.
Have you made complaints about this rooster to the police department and the animal department? You had said no before.
No.
Okay, so let's start there and let's try.
We need the complaint made to us. Again, the answering machine's on, you can leave it, anybody can leave an anonymous complaint. It would be helpful if there's anybody watching the meeting that we have more than one complaint.
Yeah, if more of your neighbors feel the same way that you do.
Well, right, keep in mind here that all of my neighbors have central air conditioning in their houses, and their windows are closed up tight all summer long. That's not the case with me. So, that makes a big difference about the volume of sound that comes into the house.
But you stated this is all day and into the night. So I have central air conditioning, and I like to sit on my back patio, and if I had to hear it all day and I'm trying to enjoy my backyard, maybe there'd be some sympathy from your neighbors as well. You know what I mean? If it's happening all day, it's like as you documented in your video. So I think that just because they're not getting awoken at 4:30 because the AC's cranking and it's a well-insulated house, but it still might be, you might want to talk to the other neighbors and, as Kristen said, have other people add complaints to us.
And we have more data,
Well,
more documented complaints to
the
warrant
property
moving
next door to
forward.
me is up for sale, for example. That's one way to solve this problem. I think that's what's inducing people to take measures like that. So at least one neighbor isn't going to be interested in issuing a complaint because they're out of there. The new people, I don't know when the house will sell, but again, different properties are different distances from where this rooster is located.
Yeah.
And I'm one of the really close ones.
Yeah. And again, let's start with the beginning. Start with making the complaint so that we can move forward in that way with the tools that we already have.
Yeah.
Because out of this meeting tonight, jumping to banning roosters is not going to happen today.
No.
We feel for you. This is for sure a nuisance. It is annoying, but it comes down to it's more of a dispute between neighbors and not a town board of health issue at the moment.
All right.
Thank you very much for your time.
Let me eject it safely so it doesn't.
All right. Kristen, I believe we're on to,
You can take it now.
oh, I'm sorry.
Betterments.
We're on to betterments. I think we have 3 on the agenda.
Do. So first one, 16 Bower Street. Good. All these, everyone's in good standing. Originally, he requested $45,000, but now he's only looking for $26,064.
And that was 16?
16 Bower Street, yes. You wanna do them one by one, or just do them all?
I think we'll do them all.
Okay.
Unless you're gonna tell us that there's something exceptional about any of them.
No, 84 Kevin's Way, they're looking for 45,000, again, good standing, their design plans in, and so that's ready to go. And 184 Bay Road, they too are looking for $25,522. They're gonna pay their own engineering themselves, and that's just the cost of construction.
So the high one was Kevin's Way. Why was that a little bit higher, do you know?
That neighborhood's got some tough soils.
That's right, yes, we
groundwater.
talked about that one, we talked about that neighborhood.
Yeah, they're all, unfortunately,
Yeah,
they don't last
I
forever.
remember it now, thank you. I'll make a motion to approve the 3 betterments as presented.
Second to approve the 3 betterments as presented.
All those in favor, me and yes,
Butler, yes.
so done.
We accept the meetings from last.
I haven't recovered them
Okay.
off of Jen's computer yet,
Okay.
so they were not provided to you, so
Okay.
I've gotta go on,
We can do that next meeting.
we think they're on her hard drive, so.
Okay.
Staff notes?
We are dealing currently with a, real uptick in the number of cases of pertussis or whooping cough that we are seeing in the community.
Yep.
Definitely seeing more than in my entire 28 years that I've been here.
That prevalent?
Yes, yep, extremely prevalent. There's a definite waning of immunity. There's actually some evidence to suggest that potentially it should be boosted at 5 years as opposed to 10 years. We're actually seeing cases where people are developing pertussis, within the month before they're due for their next booster. Luckily, not terribly debilitating illness at this point because we haven't had any littles impacted or seniors.
I was just gonna say,
It is
unless it's passed on to our littles.
Yeah.
It is extremely risky for especially the littles.
Newborns,
I
elderly.
heard over the weekend, which I find kind of encouraging news, when my nieces were born, we were told we had to get a flu shot if we wanted to be near the baby in the winter. I actually had somebody tell me that their sister was insisting that they all be boosted.
It is standard now. If you have a new baby in Massachusetts, they ask the mother to get vaccinated, and then anyone caring for the baby. It's not regulated. You don't have to do it, but it's very common, and it's a big push from pediatricians. And
I know 2 grandparents that were recently mandated.
there we go. Right, exactly. So there is a lot of.
In order to get visitation rights.
Yes. Okay. There is a huge push from the pediatrician's office, the OBGYNs,
Yes.
currently to get that done. So that is good.
Yep. But we also have, our kiddos, our
Yeah.
school-age kids that are in school environments and whatnot, playing on athletic teams and everything else, are also popping up.
Positive.
We also are having an issue with doctors or providers going on the assumption that the length of time it must be whooping cough, and they are treating without testing.
Okay.
Which really kind of undermines our ability to insert ourselves into the process if it's tested and confirmed. And the guidance from DPH right now is test and treat. If you're doing the test, start the treatment. It's for most people, it's a Z-Pack. It's 5 days of antibiotics, and then you no longer are able to spread. So there's very low risk in actually treating, but once we have that positive, we have the ability to step in and do the follow-up.
Okay.
We've had one case recently in town that household was treated, and then there were identified at least 10 close contacts that sought treatment or were advised to seek treatment. We've had one case in town that on thorough investigation resulted in 40 close contacts that were all advised to take the preventative antibiotic. We've had the most recent one where I think we're upwards of about 10 again that were identified as close contacts and advised to seek the antibiotic.
communication with the school nurses, I imagine.
Oh, we're in
are-
constant
Huge, yeah.
communication with the school
What's the
nurses.
communication between the local pediatrician's office? Is there a good flow of information there? Like if we, as a department, called and said, hey, we're having an uptick of this, could you be more on the lookout for it? Are they receptive to that kind of communication?
I have not had that type
Okay.
of communication with them in the past. It does sound like it would be a great opportunity for our firefighter who acts as our
Yeah, that'd be a great thing to
community
do.
paramedicine
Because
program.
as someone who works in those type of settings,
Mm.
that would mean a lot coming from your office. Hey, we've noticed an uptick of this, because each individual pediatrician's office like operates in a complete bubble.
Mhm.
They might be seeing an uptick of X, Y, or Z, but unless there's kind of a, hey, we're all seeing this right now, it's a little bit of a problem. So that might be a good thing to kind of just do a phone call, reach out, hey, to the office manager or the practice manager.
Yep.
Is a good kind of touch base point to
And
say,
that would be a good, I know we have had, I know our previous, so we've just had a changeover in the individual who's in that role. But he's being coached by the
Yeah.
gentleman who just left. And he actually, the one prior, had actually had such great success of late that we are providing, we have provided a car seat and a toddler car seat and a booster for that practice to have brand new in
Great.
the box for any parent who
so they'll be
shows up.
receptive.
So we are building
Good.
that rapport, so this
Yeah.
would be another great way
I think
to
that would be a good thing to
further
do,
that.
to kind of reach out. You know, it does take time and energy, obviously, but I think the amount of time and energy it takes, a phone call quick with the practice manager, FYI, this is what we're seeing an uptake from an epidemiology point of view,
Mhm.
which we have the data.
Yep.
You know, it would go a long way. In the hospital system that I work at, we have ID teams who kind of do that. They're like,
Yep.
hey, ID alert, we're seeing a lot of this lately, just be on the lookout, be extra sure. And it just helps providers who are going through a busy day of kids who all look the same and are all sick and all have coughs to say, ooh, you know what, let me just, maybe before I wouldn't have gone out and tested this, it might be a little bit more expensive, but you know, this kid's had a cough for like 4 weeks and let's do this, you know?
Yep.
So
Very good
that might
point.
be a good little, the time it takes to do it might help a lot.
Yep, absolutely. Our EMS is aware, so they're doing
Okay.
precautionary stuff as well. But that's been
Okay.
the big on me of late.
Yeah.
Is there a plan to do any sort of clinic, not unlike a flu clinic or anything like that, or no?
No, we've been asked by one organization in town if numbers crept to a certain level, is that something that we would have the bandwidth to be able to do? So we're looking into that. I don't even know whether the state would at what level the state would provide it, because it is the DPT, it's the state provided vaccine.
Yeah.
So we are exploring that. We're not quite at that.
Okay.
Plus then it gets into evaluating each person's individual history and record. Like I said, even the prescription for the Z-Pack, I learned last week that if you are on an SSRI, you should not be taking a Z-Pack. It's contraindicated.
There are different
And
drug
there's
interactions, you have to be careful.
So there's
It's not without yeah.
and it was back and forth that Bactrim was the backup, but then it was it the full course of the Bactrim that you stayed contagious, or so this was last week. How many days of Bactrim actually gets you in check?
Gotcha.
But you do have to complete the course. So
Of course, yeah.
lot to it.
Yeah. Well, if it gets to a point where it's very bad and you needed someone to be someone who could, I am a nurse practitioner and an RN, and I can definitely be of help and assistance.
Awesome.
All right, so the state gives me those abilities. I have them independently. Thank you, Massachusetts. But yeah, I think a phone call to the local PEDS offices would be huge.
Yep, and the urgent cares. I know we already called around to the urgent cares, not just in Easton, looking for testing resources.
Okay.
And luckily we do have Care Central does do the testing.
Great.
So.
It's good to know too who does the testing, because that's the next question that the constituents have is, hey, if I'm worried so and so has this, is it even testable? So that's good to know.
Yes, we did have with one of the cases back probably 2 months ago, we had some resistance from providers from close contacts calling and saying, hey, I was exposed. Just as a prophylaxis. I was exposed, can I get the prescription for the prophylaxis? And they were told, well, you're not coughing, so.
Gotcha.
I ended up providing a letter saying,
Yeah.
that said, take this to your provider,
Yeah.
under the Massachusetts guidance, you are supposed to be on the antibiotics, so.
And I think that's something that the providers, if they have a little information
Mm-hmm.
from the office, they're like, okay, yeah, we gotta
Yep.
take this seriously. Good to know.
Yep,
Anything else?
not from me,
Very good.
thank you.
Members' notes?
No notes.
I have none. Gentlemen?
No.
Well, mobile home park, we've had a few water leaks we've been chasing. Fix one and the pop's here, fix that one and the pop there. So they're hopefully fixing the last leak as of today, so Tim and I have been on that. So. that's been
And again, we
up to
didn't
date.
know about it till we finally got a complaint, and then we're able to actually step in and put
Yeah.
pressure and feedback and monitor till it's actually taken care of, so.
Yeah, we have a lot of resources. We got to use them.
And unfortunately, one of them, they hit a power line to one of the trailers, so that was Friday evening, and National Grid was there, and but the infrastructure there is a challenge.
It's sad.
Well, thank you guys for staying on top of it and
It's sad.
getting it done.
But it is what it is. I have nothing else.
I don't motion to adjourn.
Second. Ian, yes?
Bueller, yes.
At 6:46,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
just at the time.